Good morning. Start your day informed and ahead. Today is Wednesday, the 3rd of June. Hump Day, actually. I'm Angela Lagunsan Castro.
And I'm Cheska Litoncala. We are bringing you the perfect mix of the headlines you need and the conversations that shape your day.
From the news desk to the digital space, we have got you covered. I'm Pauline Verzosa, and welcome to Morning Matters. All right, so we're now in the middle of the week. Another day, another drama. In the
Yesterday
Senate.
was, again, another very eventful day.
To say the least.
To say the least.
Okay, well, to begin with, we begin with the Senate failing to hold a session for a second straight day due to a lack of quorum. This as majority senators again refused to attend the plenary. The minority bloc said the continued absence of lawmakers is enough reason for Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano to resign. Senator Raffy Tulfo also criticized Cayetano's handling of the ongoing deadlock in the chamber. For his part, Cayetano accused the minority of trying to prevent the resumption of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee's investigation into the flood control scandal. He said his bloc's absence from session was a form of protest against what he described as a puppet Senate. Cayetano added that the move was meant to help ensure the flood control probe resumes on June 4.
What happened today was a clear abandonment of responsibility, a dereliction of duty, and a blatant disregard of the rules that govern this institution. Because the Senate cannot be made to stop working simply because its presiding officer refuses to lead. Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano should resign as he has shown that he cannot function as the leader of the Senate anymore.
Ang sinabi nila na hindi katotohanan ay dahil daw to sa impeachment. Pero yung pala, ayaw na magkaroon ng hearing sa Blue Ribbon na kung saan lalabas ang buong katotohanan. Marami pang ibang issue na sa mga susunod na araw ay pag-uusapan.
Yeah, and so well, of course, Tito Soto said that he cited the rule of the Senate, rule number 14, section 41, stating that the Senate majority or the Senate president could actually postpone a session, but through consultation with both the minority and majority bloc, which didn't happen yesterday and the other day. So sinasabi ni Senator Tito Soto, there's really a violation of the law. This is not just merely procedural, yung issue dito, a violation it is.
And this is already the second day that the Senate hasn't been able to hold session, right? And that's what the minority bloc is now arguing. Kasi yung kanilang legislative work
Agenda,
is being put aside, right? They were supposed to pass so many measures kahit nung Monday pa lang, including the Magna Carta for barangay health workers, the anti-hospital detention bill, even the confirmation of generals, and even the naturalization of players like Benny Boatwright.
And yun na nga, again, emotions ran pretty high yesterday. Senator Miguel Zubiri nag-apologize.
Yeah, we could see his
sa
face
mga
there, and his frustration is very
yun na nga,
obvious.
yung mga nasa stuck sa hospital, yung mga mahihirap daw nating kababayan, nag-apologize siya, tapos sinabi kasalanan ni Senator Alan Peter Cayetano to. And then even former Solicitor General Pilo Hilbay posted yesterday on Facebook also citing Article 6, Section 16, 2, na the remaining members of the Senate are authorized by the Constitution to arrest those who refuse to attend. So
Aabot
naglalabasan
pa ba
na.
tayo sa ganung diba?
Who's going to arrest them?
Diba? And you can't even file ethics complaint against them because number one, ethics complaint
Hasn't
or
been
ethics committee
constituted
hasn't
yet.
been constituted. And number two, if ever naman sila yung mag-head ng ethics complaint, so you will file ethics complaint against those who you feel na nag-violate also nung ethics ninyo sa so it's really conflict of interest. So what's gonna happen now? And you will see there's really a breakage, diba, in the Senate.
There's really a fracture now in the Senate.
Oo, na
And
11-11.
Today also, we're gonna have to wait and see because the Senate is about to adjourn sine die. So this is their last session day. So if the majority members still don't show up this Wednesday, ano na mangyayari, di ba?
Exactly. And it's good that you mentioned the Sinadia because normally, traditionally, di ba, so June 5, wag alis na sila. Normally, they would have parang little celebration or little gathering of whatever they accomplished, no, for that session. Pero ngayon, how are they gonna do that? And of course, pagdating, it's actually 1 year na, mag-1 year na since the President Bongbong Marcos said that famous mahiya naman kayo because mag-SONA, no? SONA is drawing closer now. And we also want to, kumbaga yung mga tao, wag natin i-sway din yung public attention nila dun sa issue ng flood control. Although there were other people, big fish na na-aresto. We have, of course, the 2 senators. We have contractor Sara Diskaya. Pero yung asawa niya, si Curly Diskaya, still detained in the Senate. Diba? There were also few contractors and former DPWH engineers that were arrested, officials. Pero sabi nga nila, kulang pa.
Yeah.
So, yan yung mga isa pa nga nating dapat
it's
pag-usapan
also-
because yung, maituloy ko lang, because yung sa Senate Blue Ribbon Committee na sinasabi ni Senator Alan Peter Cayetano na pinipigilan daw ng Senate minority na gawin. Which is sabi naman nung kabila, di sige, gawin nyo na.
So we
Go ahead.
really do have to wait and see what's going to happen later because as Senator Ping explained yesterday also, if wala ang SP, pwede mag-decide pro temp.
Yeah.
If wala ang SP and pro temp, pwede mag-preside majority leader.
Exactly.
Pag wala yung tatlo, pwede mag-preside any of the 2 deputy majority leaders. But what
They're all-
happens
they're
when
all
they're
not
not
there.
there?
Yeah, exactly. And it's
Ayaw pumasok.
also painful to see our leaders reducing the Senate into political theater, political arena, right? You have Senator Cayetano even telling the Tulfos, kung di lang kayo Tulfo, papatulfo ko kayo, umaabot sa ganung mga banat, di ba? All right, but from the upper chamber now to the lower chamber, the House of Representatives has voted to expel Cavite 4th District Representative Kiko Barzaga. The vote stood at 265 in favor, 14 against, and 8 abstentions. The case stemmed from an ethics complaint over Barzaga's alleged disruptive behavior, discourteous conduct, and social media posts said to have damaged the image of the House. Barzaga claims Malacanang had a hand in his expulsion, but presented no proof, and he says he is open to questioning the decision before the Supreme Court. Earlier, the NBI also filed an ethics complaint against Barzaga over his social media posts accusing the agency of involvement in the May 11 Senate shooting incident. The NBI says a criminal complaint may be filed next week.
So it's my last day in Congress.
Okay.
So I'm saying my goodbyes to my fellow colleagues at sinasabi ko sa kanila, wag na masyadong magnakaw.
Sige pa, ulitin yung...
Bye-bye mga crocodiles.
Right. So Congressman Kiko Barzaga is actually only the 3rd representative to be expelled from the House of Representatives in history. So this is a very rare House
Yeah,
expulsion.
the most recent one was August 2023 with Negros Oriental Representative Arnolfo Teves.
R.D. Teves.
So ngayon, the question here is what's gonna happen now? Sino ang magiging congressman ng 4th District ng Cavite? Well, technically, pwede yan mag-appoint ng caretaker ang House of Representative by its Speaker, which is Speaker Boji D, or magkaroon ng special elections. Because I remember when the dad of Congressman Kiko Barzaga died at that time, malapit na masyado yung 2025 elections. He died 2024, no? So, sabi nila, malapit na yung masyado yung election, so wag na mag-election, mag-caretaker na lang tayo, which is si former House Speaker Martin Romualdez, yung naging caretaker. And that also happened naman doon kay Arnulfo Teves. Hindi sila nagkaroon ng special elections when he was expelled. Ang naging caretaker na lang muna ay si Speaker Martin Romualdez. So, we'll see what's going to happen there. Because, of course, the district has to work,
They
diba?
also
They
have a
need them.
representative.
Yung kanilang constituents.
All right. First Pacific Chairman and CEO Manny V. Pangilinan reflected on recovery and resilience during the company's 45th anniversary celebration. Pangilinan compared his recent knee surgery to First Pacific's own journey of growth. He joked that every small step now feels like a major achievement, from standing up to walking across the room to finding a comfortable sleeping position. The business tycoon said the experience reminded him that success does not exempt anyone from life's challenges. He added that recovery, like business growth, requires patience, perseverance, and resilience.
Yan.
O, diba? Like, to talk about your personal health struggles is a vulnerability. You know,
Of course.
Yun na nga. So Sir MVP went to Singapore for his knee injury, and we saw a very personal side of him during that speech.
Kumbaga parang he went beyond business. Kumbaga he was trying to tell us na the success means also that there are setbacks. Diba? There will be challenges, there will be tribulations, diba,
Yes.
along the way. Pero alam mo, I was asking Mama Dims kanina kasi she's one of the hosts, no? She and Dylan Minor noong
Yes.
event na yon. So sabi ko, how was it ba? Kamusta yon? Sabi niya, sobrang nakaka-touch, no? Because of what he said also to his employees. Sabi niya, importante sa kanya yung loyalty ng loyalty sa mga empleyado. So and he also cited yung sa conclave. Anyway, I don't know if you watched that movie. He cited one of his sa speech niya about having faith.
It humanizes MVP, right? He's our boss, of course, but it's so nice to see that personal side, as you mentioned, Cheska. I like what he said about real wealth is not just material things. It's not cars, companies. It's actually your family, your friends, your faith, and of course your health. So we're happy to see MVP in such great shape.
Malay mo, invite natin siya dito.
Oh,
Over
why
Money
not?
Matters. Why not? Diba? And another good vibes, new viral characters. Ito na, Charmaine, Vanessa, and Melanie are taking social media by storm. It all started with an orange that jokingly complained about being named after its color or saying it deserved something more creative. Yon. When asked what it would rather be called, the orange chose the name Charmaine. Then came Vanessa, a fly that said it could relate to Charmaine's dilemma, joking that it deserved a better name than simply being called Fly. Later, an avocado character named Melanie joined the trend, playfully questioning why people assumed it was a lawyer just because the Filipino word for lawyer, abogado, sounds like avocado. And the trend has since inspired memes, parodies, and even brands to join the fun.
Mare, bakit sabi nagrereklamo ka naman
Kasi
daw?
naman, naiinis naman ako, te. Kasi parang hindi naman ako pinag-isipan.
Bakit naman?
O, di ba, ikaw ang pangalan mo ay Mango.
Ah, tapos?
O, Mango ka, di ba? Pero dilaw ka naman.
Ay, oo.
Ano ba, parang obvious naman kasi sa akin, te. Orange, wala na bang ibang pangalan? Nakakaloka naman.
May point ka dyan,
Dapat kasi,
te.
ginagawa nila ng paraan yung mga yan. Hindi tama.
May point naman si Charmaine, di ba? Parang hindi na daw pinag-isipan yung name niya.
Oh, so are you okay with your name? Are you
Okay
okay, with
naman
your
ako.
name?
Okay naman.
Pwede ba
Oo.
palitan?
Oo.
Pwede ba magpanotaryo na rin tayo? If you were to change your name, may option ka ba?
Okay naman na ako sa
Okay na?
name ko.
Okay.
Oo. Pero nakakatuwa to. I don't know if you guys still remember na anong ginagawa ninyo ng 2009. Ito na naman tayo sa edad natin. Because I remember Annoying Orange. I don't know if you know Annoying Orange.
Yeah.
Nagkasalita din yun yung
Sa
naunang
YouTube ba
Orange
yun?
sa YouTube. Yung
Yeah.
nauso yan 2009, Annoying Orange. And I was wondering, and before kasi I was reading about this, long time ago, na ang orange naman pala, contrary to popular belief, ay nauna yung fruit na itawaging orange than the color. It was
okay.
yellow-red before yung tawag nila sa orange.
Ayun naman pala.
So, mas
the
nauna
color
talaga siya.
was named after the fruit.
Pero siya na lang yung nag-adjust.
Si Jervy Wrightson ang nagsalita dito last night. No, the
talaga?
orange came from the orange word or name comes from Sanskrit yata, Naranja, something.
Oh, she said that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Very
yun.
main
Yung pala
character
eh.
to si Charmaine eh. Pati yan sila, Fly, si
Yung
Vanessa.
fly, natawa talaga ako.
Magpapanotaryo na
Yun
lang ako
talaga.
as Svetlana.
Napaka-creative talaga ng mga Filipinos. You never know what kind of memes will come out on social media nowadays. But it's good
Aren't
for
you glad
entertainment.
it's Wednesday today?
Kung
Ang luma.
kung nandito si Diego, nag-crumple na naman siya ng papel.
Right.
All right, don't go away. Morning Matters will be back after a short break.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Senator Erwin Tulfo is urging majority senators to resume session, saying there are still many important measures that need to be tackled in the chamber. In an interview with The Big Story, Tulfo pushed back against Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano's claim that the Senate is merely following the executive branch. He said the majority is simply upholding the Senate's rules and processes. Tulfo also claimed that Cayetano and Senator Rodante Marcoleta appear to be protecting some members with pending warrants.
What we have to fight, Mrs. for the Senate. We have to fight for our rules, our Senate rules. That's what we're fighting for. And including in those rules are like we have to have sessions every day so that we'll be able to pass bills that will become law in the very near future. Unfortunately, if we don't have a quorum, then we cannot conduct any sessions. Hindi ko po maintindihan kung ano po ibig sabihin ng puppet na Senado. I mean, yung sinasabi niyang independence, saan po? Is he talking about na kontrolado po ng administrasyon o na executive ang Senado? Is he talking based on his experience when he was the Speaker of the House, when he was the Speaker of the Congress in 2020, wherein President Rodrigo Duterte stepped in and said, move aside, let Alan Velasco sit as the Senate President, Speaker of the House. Yun po ba ibig sabihin niya? Is he talking based on experience na maging Speaker of the House po siya na pumasok po ang administrasyong Duterte para palitan siya? Kaya po siya, ngayon tingin po niya na nakikialam itong administrasyon ngayon? We were protecting the institution. We were protecting the rules of the Senate. Para ano pa na gumawa po kami ng mga rules kung hindi naman po susundin. Ang gusto po niya kasi, kasama po si Senator Marcoleta, mag-insert po ng Section 41C na pwede po ang teleconferencing, video conferencing, ang mga senador na hindi kailangan mag-attend sa Senate. Okay lang po yun, Mrs. That's okay. Pero we have to deliberate on it. We have to discuss about it. Ilatag nyo sa amin. Hindi yung pepwersahin mo na, no, we'll just divide the House. That's not the right process, Mrs. The right process should have been, we could have discussed it on the floor. And then, tsaka pag talagang we really disagree, then we can divide the House. Wala pa pong discussions wala pa pong deliberations So how can that be? So gusto nilang lumundag kaagad, Mrs. I mean, they want to cut short. Parang nagmamadali sila. Ito naman po sa kanila, Mrs. Yes, they're protecting also, pero they're protecting the interests of some of their members na para hindi na po mahuli. Or yung mahuli po nung the other day, parang they're protesting na hinuli po yung kasama nila.
Now in other news, former Senator Bong Revilla returned to the Sandigan Bayan today as his trial linked to alleged DPWH flood control anomalies resumes. And for the latest, let's bring in mobile journalist Arles de los Santos. Good morning, Arles. What can we expect from today's hearing at the Sandigan Bayan?
Well, ngayong araw po rin ay hindi nga raw makadadalo itong si dating Senador Bong Revilla para sa kanyang kasong graft na hawak na ng 3rd Division ng Sandigan Bayan. Kaya kinukumpirma pa natin kung ano nga yung dahilan ng kanyang pagliban, pero sa ngayon ay hinihintay natin na magsimula nga yung paglilitis sa kanya. Kasama sa, hindi actually kasama, yung haharap bilang testigo ng prosecution ngayon ay si Assistant Secretary Alex G. Bote. Ang narinig natin ito si Bote yung kasama sa mga opisyal ng DPWH na may kakayanan na magpasok ng mga proyekto at kagaya halos ng posisyon ni dating DPWH Undersecretary Maria Catalina Cabral na itinuturo nga na dahilan para maipasok itong Bandi-Bulacan project. Kahapon, meron ding mga humarap na testigo, kagaya ni Engineer Carlo Rivera na nagsasabi nga na nakatanggap siya ng nasa 10,000 pesos mula naman sa state witness na si Henry Alcantara kaugnay sa mga flood control projects ng ating pamahalaan. Pero itong kay Revilla, nagpapatuloy pa rin naman so far yung trial pero hindi nga raw ito makadarating ngayong araw.
Arles, ano pang naging reaksyon ng kampo ni former Senator Bong Revilla ahead of today's hearing?
Well, kahapon ay nagkaroon ng pagkakataon ng media na makausap si Agimat Party List Representative Brian Revilla matapos nga itong dumalaw sa kanyang ama doon sa Quezon City Jail. Ayon sa kanya, hindi raw madali yung nararanasan. Wala raw aircon doon sa loob ng payatas. Pero tuloy-tuloy naman daw yung kanilang pagharap dito sa kaso kay Revilla at hanggang sa mapatunayan nga yung kanyang innocent. No? At yun naman, yung naging posisyon ng kanyang kampo mula noon na wala nang basehan yung mga paratang kay Revilla, lalo pa na walang direktang papel na nagdidig sa kanya sa Blasphemy of Scandal.
And Arles, kahapon naglabas din ng desisyon ang Sandigan Bayan denying the motion of former Ako Bicol Party List Representative Zaldico to junk their malversation case. Ano naman yung naging basehan niyan?
Well, ayan yung sa demur, Apolline, no? Hinihintay pa rin natin yung kabuuan ng papel na ito. Pero may kaugnayan ito doon sa hinihilingan ni Zaldico na mabasura na yung kaso sa kanya. Pero kasi hindi madali yung hiling na yan dahil siya ay tag na, no, as fugitive from justice. So hindi siya mabilis at madali na makahingi ng mga pabor o mga pakiusap sa korte dahil at the end of the day siya ay isang fugitive na from justice. So hiling natin kung maaari sumuko na talaga siya, no, sa ating pamahalaan dahil pare-parehas yung magiging kalabasan nito. At kabukod dyan, ito kasing itong demurrer na sinasabi, yung hiling nga talaga na basura na yung kaso dito, no. Ito kasi yung motion for leave na sinasabi, yung final, no. So si Zaldico may kinakaharap na kaso sa Sandigan Bayan and nag-file siya ng motion for leave. Ito yung permission na yung korte ay umaksyon, payagan si Zaldico na maka-aksyon, makapag-lobby ng iba't ibang mga legal remedies sa kaso na kanya kinakaharap, pero yun, hindi ito pinagbigyan ng korte. At tuloy-tuloy pa din yung paglilitis sa kanya na ngayon si Zaldico ay at large kasama yung iba pang mga opisyal ng SunWest Incorporated.
And finally, Arles, meron na bang latest din doon sa arraignment naman nila Senator Jinggoy Estrada and former DPWH Secretary Manny Bonoan?
Nakatakdayan Pauline bukas, Webes, June 4 at 1:30 p.m. para sa kanyang graft case habang yung plunder case niya naman ay isasagawa ng alas 8 ng umaga. No? Para lang sa kalaman ng ating mga tagapanood na pagpaliban itong graft case arraignment ni Estrada dahil meron pa rin silang mga nakapinpin na motion sa Sandigan Bayan. Kailangan ma-resolve muna ito o mabigyan ng desisyon ng korte bago mag-proceed doon sa pagsasakdal sa kanya. No? Ito yung pagbasa ng sakdal sa kanya, kung ano nga pa yung charge sa kanya, nasusundan naman ng kung ano yung kanyang plea. Guilty ba or not guilty? And then after noon, magkakaroon ng pagkakataon para sa preliminary conference kung saan naman kakailanganin na maplansya kung ilang mga testigo yung ihaharap, ano-ano yung magiging basihan, and at least naman kay Secretary Bonoan, ang hiniling nila kasi kahapon para ma-defer yung arraignment ay yung kalagayan nga nito, na meron daw reactive hypertension at yung blood pressure ay umaabot ng 170/90 at kabukod dyan ay magpapile din sila ngayong araw ng motion to quash. Police.
All right, thank you very much. That was mobile journalist Arles de los Santos. Now, meanwhile, House prosecutors are pushing back against Vice President Sara Duterte's answer to the articles of impeachment. Bicol Saro Representative Terry Ridon called the reply a suitcase with nothing inside, saying it only rehashed old arguments.
Medyo maganda yung maleta nila. Hindi ba? At ito ay maletang walang laman dahil katulad ng sabi ko nga, parang wala naman silang sinagot point per point. And very evident po yung hindi nila masyadong tinalakay yung pong threats against the president.
Lead prosecutor Jervin Luiser also said Duterte's camp cannot simply ask for the case to be dismissed. She said under the Constitution and Senate impeachment rules, the case must proceed to trial where the only outcomes are conviction or acquittal. And when we return later at 9:30 a.m., former Senator and Senate Blue Ribbon Committee Chairman Dick Gordon joins us live right here in the studio to break down the recent controversies and critical issues unfolding at the Senate. But don't go away because Money Talks with Kathy Yang is up next to get you ahead of the markets. I'm Pauline Verzosa. Stay tuned to One News.
Welcome to Money Talks. I'm Kathy Yang, your intel on the Philippine markets and the economy. In the headlines, a strategic petroleum reserve in the Philippines is now being studied as part of the Marcos administration's broader push to fortify fuel reserve capacity in cases of oil crisis. A conversation with Department of Energy Secretary Sharon Garin. As the Philippines faces headwinds from the Middle East crisis, the ASEAN Plus 3 Macroeconomic Research Office cuts the country's growth forecast for 2026 and 2027. And over 70% of Filipinos traveled locally in 2025. We check in on how that's changed following the spike in fuel surcharges with Michelle Ho, General Manager of Growth Philippines. The Philippines moves to establish its first systematic strategic petroleum reserve program to shield the economy from volatile global supply chains and geopolitical shocks. The planned strategic petroleum reserve is backed by Japan, a long-standing official dialogue partner of ASEAN, and is now moving towards a comprehensive strategic partnership with the Philippines. With us for more is Department of Energy Secretary Sharon Garin. It's good seeing you, Sec Garin. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Kathy. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here.
So how did the partnership with Japan come about to build these strategic oil reserves?
It started way back before when they had the meeting with the Prime Minister and all of the Asian countries. The discussions started during, like last month, while the war in the Middle East was ongoing, the realization that we are so dependent with the Middle East. So it was a consultation of sorts at that time, and with the visit to Japan, there was a more firm agreement and embarking into the project.
So it's a firm agreement, Secretary. What exactly did the both of the governments agree on this time?
The firm agreement on studying and exploring the idea. So the Japanese counterparts will be here by next month, and since last week we have been doing virtual meetings with them, and so that it's a multifaceted group. No, it's the METI, their trade and industry, also their banks, also the possible institutions that will evaluate the situation. So their interest basically is to explore a regional hub for Asia. So Philippines is we are presenting ourselves, and we are at the same time exploring how to set up our own national reserve. So we're moving along, and then hopefully by July we can have a more concrete direction.
So this is for sure. I mean, we're presenting ourselves, as you say, but this one's in the bag, that the Philippines is going to be the location of this reserve.
I guess, Kat, it depends on what we present, right? And what the other countries will be willing to present also. So there's no contract or agreement yet as to where it will be, because being a regional project, then it has to be decided by the whole region.
So how does this complement what's been agreed upon then last month in Cebu when President Marcos and fellow ASEAN leaders moving toward a shared regional fuel reserves? How do these two initiatives then fit together in our government's long-term energy security plan?
Right. There's two groups. There's the ASEAN and there's the group with Japan. And so Japan is proposing a regional hub, the same way that ASEAN also is studying a regional hub. It's different, but it come together. Now, how will that impact on energy or oil security, for that matter? Kasi if we have our own stockpiling in the Philippines, it protects us in a way that the inventory is here already, but as well as the impact of any other, what are the determinants of the price or the inventory? It's a situation in the other countries. It's the forex exchange, the currency exchange that we have. That has a very substantial impact now on the price, and of course the availability and the price also. So if the inventory is in the Philippines, whether it's crude or it's finished product already, we are protected as against the impact of the war in the Middle East or wherever it may be, and the exchange rate. So we've made some initial runs, that if we do stockpile in the Philippines, and in fact we have a regional hub here, and in fact, better so if we have the additional refineries here in the Philippines, our GDP is protected, as well as our inflation, because of that alone, of the impact of the having it here in the Philippines. It will be a different dynamics for our oil industry if it's here already.
And who are the other contenders then if it's not going to be here in the Philippines?
I don't think any other country has volunteered yet. So that's the privilege we have, and our opportunity being the chair of ASEAN. We get to be more, I guess, in the forefront and more seen, no? Kaya this is a good opportunity to Philippines, and this is one advantage of being chair of ASEAN. So hopefully we're louder and we have a better proposal.
And a better sequencing. I'm seeing that on the one hand, we do have the Japan-backed Strategic Oil Reserve for the Philippines, and on the other, the Cebu Summit endorsing studies on that regional fuel stockpile, and faster implementation of APSA, the ASEAN Petroleum Security Agreement. So which comes first then in practice, and how do you avoid the overlap or maybe even the confusion between the national and the ASEAN reserves?
Then a national can be standalone, but it can also combine it. We have several sites that we can explore. We can explore Mindanao, we can explore Luzon. PNOC has several properties all over the country, and we have several economic zones. It can be all of it, Kathy, or it can be one. So, but for sure, we will pursue our own national reserve. Having a reserve, though, Kathy, is having a tank for your own, no? And having a tank farm, you can have a tank farm where a combination of the national reserve and the regional reserve, that can work hand in hand together. Where will it fall in? Will it be with the Japanese initiative or the ASEAN initiative? That is still under study, because what we have agreed in ASEAN is for the Asian Center for Energy. We'll do the somewhat of a feasibility study on what's the best set up for ASEAN hub. No? So in the same way that Japan will be coming here and do the study. So I think it's too early to determine yet which one would be best for our country. But definitely, I think we will choose what will be most fitting in order to protect our own interests.
But if we go back and refer to that framework for the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which foreign state institutions and private commercial entities will you be coordinating with to develop the national oil stockpiling mechanism?
Right. Since the declaration in the ASEAN, there's so much interest in it. So there are the technical side, which is like the ASEAN Center for Energy, and then there's IREA also. So many of the institutions are interested in doing the studies and the evaluation, and hopefully I think we've already done the signing with them, and then the work is ongoing, and hopefully within the year we will find the best solution for that. And on the other hand, on financing we have the usual supporters like World Bank and ADB that would help with the studies. Now, on the other hand, Japan has their own groups also in a similar sense. But how to, I guess, maybe I think your question would be what institutions will embark on this project, especially financing. So that will be determined once we have the studies. But I think DOE on our part, we're trying to study that it won't come from the APRO, from the national fund. It can be funded in any way, like Maharlika can come in, or even private institutions that would partner with us.
Well, let me pick up on Maharlika. As you mentioned it, our sovereign wealth fund manager, Maharlika Investment Corp, as a key financier. What is the latest in the talks there? Because Mr. Kunsing had in the past month expressed interest in funding the storage infrastructure.
Correct. We've been meeting with Maharlika a few times already about this topic, and in fact, they will be entering into an agreement with PNOC in exploring, especially the property of PNOC in Bataan. They have a huge property there that might be ideal. So this is an agreement to explore and evaluate the study. So what's the part of PNOC? PNOC can provide the real estate or even the support of the government, while on the other hand, Maharlika can study how the financing will go and which partners are best partners for us in this project.
Well, we can see that this is all highly collaborative and commendable, Secretary, but also challenging, as JP De Vera of PIDS told us on this program. The recurring hurdle in the Philippines is that many agencies have overlapping responsibilities. So how then will the Department of Energy take the lead in coordinating with the government agencies and the other stakeholders to get this reserve off the ground?
Correct. We're still in the early stages. And it might take like a year just to have one finished already as like a one tank. No? So it will be several agencies in a sense that possibly on the permitting, like the environmental, the security, and land classification, or many of the usual permits. But I think DOE, as the mandated agency under all the regulation law, should take the lead, no? Which we are already, and but collaborative in the sense that we are using other, especially our own attached agencies and Maharlika for the moment, and we will find out if we will need Department of Finance eventually or any other agency. But right now, I think it's best for us to formulate first what the direction will be and find what are the other agencies that we should collaborate. So we're trying to fast track this, Kathy. If we do want it fast track, then we do need the support of all the agencies, and we'll come to that.
Under the scenario of an energy emergency, as we are for the full year, in what way does that help hasten and fast track your plans?
The national emergency provisions are limited to the emergency, and the stockpiling is beyond the emergency. The current emergency we have had triggered the conversation and probably the initiative of DOE also. So what is happening now is that there's an ongoing debate or discussion in the legislative for a bill on stockpiling. But on the other hand, the issuance of the president also gives DOE more, let's say, more teeth or vision in that sense. Now, we address this now so that we can use the emergency provisions in order to hasten any of the permitting processes that we have. So it will help while the emergency is there, because it's only valid while there is an emergency. But I think in the long run, it will go beyond the EO 101.
You know, critics are quick to raise the risk that the Strategic Petroleum Reserve could create a false sense of security. How do we ensure that it complements rather than substitutes the deeper reforms in both energy security and domestic energy development?
Well, when you it should give them, it should give us a sense of security in that sense. We are not producers of oil, and having stockpiling here, whether it's national or regional, it has its benefits and it gives us security, and I think it is correct in that sense that that sentiment is there, because that is what we need. We have realized that the past 2 months. So we will this format is not just to secure the Philippines. It's also to make the Philippines more attractive as an investment destination, because stockpiling, we had to do some reforms in some of our policies, including DOF, DOE, and other agencies, in order for this to be successful. But this could also be a good investment where there are returns. So it serves both ways, the economics of it as well as the energy security part. So I think this is a really it's a very big project. I think the estimates one tank that will host 1 million barrels is 5 billion already without a refinery. So it's very expensive. But there are ways to design this that it will be more beneficial than just having it there. It can be a business by itself also.
Just as a final point, Secretary, on the Luzon Economic Corridor, very important for the government as that's got an AI layer on top of it. And as we know, it's huge energy requirements. How ready are we for it?
It's quite difficult, Kathy, because the requirement of a AI or data center, not just availability of power, the usual requirement is it has to be clean, basically renewable, and it has to be very steady, 24 hours. There's a certain quality of power that they require, and it has to be cheap. We are actually currently drafting a circular, like what are the options for a data center. One option, for example, is build a power plant on site. If you need clean, it could be gas or SMR, no, nuclear, for example, or any other that could pass their test. No, so that is, for example, one solution. Or we can have other designs where they can get a power plant to be built by somebody else, or they can build it on their own. So there are many ways to keep price down, keep it steady, but there has to be certain technologies to come to make sure that it serves it. It's that part we have to talk to the ICT and DTI on how to go about it.
A lot more work to be done, but thank you so much for the update, Secretary Sharon Garin of the Department of Energy. In other news, the ASEAN Plus 3 Macroeconomic Research Officer Ambro has cut its growth forecast for the Philippines, citing rising inflation pressures and the economic impact of the Middle East conflict. Ambro now expects the Philippine economy to grow by 4.1% in 2026, down from its earlier forecast of 5.3%. It also lowered its 2027 growth outlook to 5.5% from 5.8%. The regional think tank said higher energy costs are expected to further weigh on household spending, while the recovery in public construction is likely to remain gradual. The downgrade follows a weaker than forecast 2.8% GDP growth in the first quarter, its weakest since the pandemic. Meantime, Ambro also raised its inflation forecast for the Philippines to 6% for 2026 and 4.1% for 2027. Both figures exceed the government's 2 to 4% target range. Ambro warned the prolonged conflict in the Middle East remains the biggest risk, with higher oil prices likely to further slow growth and fuel inflation across ASEAN. And you're watching Money Talks. Coming up, how do Filipino travelers cope with rising fare prices and a weaker peso? We speak with Michelle Ho of Klook Philippines in a moment. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back to Money Talks. I'm Kathy Yang. A quick check on the Philippine peso and see how it's opened. The peso opens a tad weaker, 61.68 to the dollar. The local unit recovered on Tuesday, gaining 7 centavos to settle at 61.675 against the greenback. Trading remains cautious as investors await the release of inflation and employment reports. Mike Ricafort of RCBC says the central bank may have intervened to prevent the peso from hitting another all-time low. Checking in on the markets overseas, U.S. stock futures edged lower in overnight trading. The Dow and the Nasdaq slipped by less than 0.1% each, and the S&P hovers near the flat line. Asian markets are trading higher this Wednesday. Japan's Nikkei 225 gains by more than 1%. Australia's ASX 200 climbs by 0.4%. And South Korea's Kospi edges up by about 0.2%. Major U.S. indexes now closed at records 5 sessions in a row for the first time since 2017. The Dow climbed Tuesday by 0.4%, S&P advanced 0.1%, and the Nasdaq ticked up less than 0.1%. New developments over AI lifted U.S. equities, with shares of Hewlett-Packard Enterprise up 19% after the server company reported rampant AI demand, and Marvell Technology soaring 33% on hopes it could become the next $1 trillion company. And Philippine markets advanced yesterday for the second straight session. PSEI closed yesterday higher by nearly 2%, lifted by persistent bargain hunting activities. The broader all-shares index surged 1.4%, with sectoral gauges all in the green. And the 10-year government bond yields ticked up to 7.507% from the previous close of 7.49%. In corporate news, First Pacific Chairman and CEO Manny V. Pangilinan reflected on recovery, resilience, and the company's 45-year journey during its anniversary celebration. Pangilinan looked back on First Pacific's early years, crediting its growth to both decisions, risk-taking, and the dedication of employees who helped build its legacy. He also expressed optimism about the group's future and its leadership transition. Drawing a parallel to his recent knee surgery, the business tycoon joked that every small step now feels like a major achievement. This experience, he said, was a reminder that no matter how successful a person becomes, one's knees remain completely unimpressed. Pangilinan added that much like business growth, recovery requires patience, perseverance, and resilience. So how are Filipinos changing the way they travel in the face of higher fares and a weaker peso? And what does this mean for airlines, tourism, jobs, and the broader experiences economy? With us is Michelle Ho, General Manager of travel tech platform Klook Philippines. It's good seeing you again. Michelle, welcome back to the program.
Thank you for having me, Kathy.
Yeah, and what difference a year makes. I mean, same time last year, about May, we were talking about a rising peso. Strengthening peso, leading people overseas because they had more power to their currency. But right now, it's all very different. The peso's recorded historic lows, past 61 to the dollar. How has that impacted the traveling Filipino?
Well, you're right about that, Kathy. In fact, a lot of things have changed in terms of trends, in terms of how Filipinos are traveling these days. We're paying a closer attention to what's happening with the oil crisis, with inflation. As you mentioned, Philippine peso is starting to weaken against the dollar. And what that means for Filipinos is that they have gotten a lot more intentional in terms of where they're spending their peso. Yes, we're seeing that Filipinos are still traveling, but how that translates to their decisions as to where to go. For example, we used to see a lot of Filipinos going to Japan, to Hong Kong, and that still is true. But we're seeing that the growth is actually not coming to these types of destinations, but more so in emerging destinations like, for example, Vietnam, China, Thailand, where they could really see that value for money.
Take us through that value for money, because when you look at the fuel surcharge matrix, and that's something that we watch nearly every single week, we're now at level 13, not anywhere near we were before the Middle East crisis, but it's still a cost. And you do define that the traveling Filipino is now working towards what's closer to home. but how close is closer to home right now with the costly fuel surcharge, and also thinking about those inflationary pressures eating into the basic necessities they have to spend for first?
Just looking at the summer data, for example, we saw that a lot of Filipinos were more on a wait at sea. And what that means is that, at least for those who have secured their flights way back in December of last year, they still pursued that trip. But for those that are just looking to book maybe 7 days or 2 weeks prior out, we saw a softening in terms of demand, and that really, we felt the pinch back over the summer, at least for the last mile bookers, is what we call it. But now with the diesel rollbacks, for example, and we're seeing that shift a little bit. And what that means is that domestic for us is growing. We're seeing a triple-digit growth, for example, for hotels. Not nationwide. We're seeing bright spots in Manila, for example, for staycation, for Batangas, Tagaytay, even Cebu, and a few other coastal destinations, but really pockets of opportunities for domestic. And we see that to be the case for the foreseeable future, wherein travel for Filipinos could mean closer to home, and that means going on land trips nearby, or for outbound, where they can get that value for money, which in this case is Vietnam and China.
To your point about the emerging destinations, then, I mean, it's a toss-up, isn't it? I mean, do you travel overseas, or do you get bang out of your buck traveling locally? Because there are destinations here, regrettably, are so much more expensive than if you were to, say, go to Hong Kong or maybe Japan, even at a time when the peso's already fallen to a record.
Right, the competition is definitely tough, and a lot of our destinations are feeling that. Meaning, when we look at our Pulse data, for example, you'll see that what's ranking number one is still price, meaning Filipinos are price sensitive. Filipinos are choosing destinations and travel experiences based on price. And when I flip that and look at how suppliers are responding to it, how are operators looking at it, it really is, that challenge. How do we bring our costs down? How do we make this affordable for Filipinos? And there's that movement to be able to, really look at the supply that we have to be able to drive affordability for Filipinos. And the toss-up between domestic and outbound, at least for now, what we're seeing is that it's a dual growth engine, meaning Filipinos are still choosing to travel outbound, but perhaps not so much with the likes of Hong Kong, but more closer, perhaps to Vietnam and to China. But people are still traveling for weekend things to do, for example, for domestic. So really, I think it's both happening at the same time.
One of the interesting finds I had in your report, and this came out in April when fuel prices were going higher, is that Filipinos just got a lot more voracious for food. If it hasn't changed, what are they spending on then on food? And as a travel tech app, what are you doing to capture that change? People are just spending more for food rather than anything else.
Right. I think food is a big part of the way Filipinos travel. It is.
Is it a culture thing, or?
I believe so. It is a cultural.
Or any change that we see in the culinary landscape that's prompted them for that shift.
Well, what's interesting is that because of that love for food, right, we're seeing that, for example, when Michelin came in back in October of last year, it did drive a lot of domestic talkability, not just for domestic consumers, but also for inbound foreigners wanting to try Filipino food. And I think that halo effect from the Michelin recognition is going to trickle down to other restaurants, other dining establishments that we do partner with. And because of that trend, we're also starting to bundle hotel staycations, for example, with food experiences that Filipinos can try on Klook.
All right, that's the key takeaway I have. Keep traveling, keep moving. Thank you so much,
you.
Michelle Ho of Klook Philippines. And that is it for Money Talks. I'm Kathy Yang. Catch us again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time. Morning Matters returns at 9:30 a.m. Have a great day ahead.
morning and welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News.
Tindig Pilipinas files a complaint before the Ombudsman against Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano, Senator Robin Padilla, and suspended Senate Sergeant-at-Arms Mau Aplaska in connection with the alleged escape of Senator Bato de la Rosa from the Senate. And for the details, we have our mobile journalist Daniel Dayao. Daniel, what can you tell us about this complaint?
Good morning, Angela, and good morning to all our kapatids na nanonood ngayon. So ngayon nga ihahain na dito sa Office of the Ombudsman ng reklamong obstruction of justice laban kina Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano, now suspended Sergeant-at-Arms Mau Aplaska, at Senator Robin Hood Padilla. Dahil ito sa reklamo ng Tindig Pilipinas, isang civil society groups na kasama ang human rights advocates at yung mga sinasabing ang pamilya na naging biktima ng war of drugs. So ang sinasabi dito, Angela, na itong complaint ay ginigiit na hindi dapat nakikialam yung mga opisyal dun nga sa nangyaring pag-escape ni Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa noong nakaraang early hours of May 14. So kasabay na to, Angela, kinumpirma din ng Department of Justice na nagsasagawa rin ng investigasyon o kahiwalay na investigasyon kay Senator Robin Hood Padilla dahil nga doon sa naging escape. At ngayon wala pa ang nakikita mo sa akin likod, wala pa ang Tindig Pilipinas dito, pero mamaya aabangan natin ang kanilang statement patungkol nga sa ganitong complaint na ihahain nila dito sa Office of the Ombudsman. Tatanungin din natin sila at kung paano nga ba ito makaka-apekto sa magiging image ng Senado considering na majority blocks ang mga hahainan ng complaint. Angela.
Well, sino ba specifically from Tindig Pilipinas yung magfa-file ng complaint?
Yes, Angela. Sa ngayon, ang inaasahan natin na pupunta dito ay si co-convener Kiko D ng Tindig Pilipinas. At yun nga, yung magiging pamilya ng naging biktima ng war on drugs victim nung nakaraang administrasyon. Angela.
And lastly, Daniel, of course, ang minority bloc yesterday is asking Senator Peter Alan Cayetano to step down as the Senate President. Ano naman ang kumbaga komento ng Tindig Pilipinas dito? Dahil sila rin ay talagang maraming mga komento tungkol dito sa mga nangyayari sa Senate.
Yes. Angela, yun nga ang itatanong natin sila sa kanila mamaya dahil sa ngayon wala pa sila dito, pero inaasahan natin na ang kanilang statement ay yun nga, kailangan yung mga opisyal ay mag-step up and at the same time managot sa mga nangyaring problema dito sa Senado or sa shooting incident sa Senado. Angela.
Daniel, this is Pauline. Ano specifically yung complaints na balak isampa ng Tindig Pilipinas laban kila Senator Alan Peter Cayetano, Senator Robin Padilla, pati na rin in relation dun sa naging shooting incident sa Senado with Senator Bato de la Rosa?
Yes, Pauline, iyon nga ang nakalagay dito, no, sa Tindig Pilipinas, ang kanilang ipapal na complaint ay obstruction of justice. This is in relation nga sa nangyaring shooting incident noong May 13 at ang early escape ni Senator Bato de la Rosa noong May 14. So sinasabi dito na yung inihain nga na arrest warrant kay Senator Bato de la Rosa ay hindi dapat nagkakaroon ng frustration of justice o yung sinasabi nga nila na merong paggalaw or merong ang pakingialam ang mga opisyal ng Senado.
Alright, thank you so much for that update, mobile journalist Daniel Dayao.
Meanwhile, the arraignment of Senator Jinggoy Estrada and former Public Works Chief Manuel Bonoan has been postponed to Thursday. And now let's get more updates from Camp Crame with our mobile journalist, Jazz Paredes. Hi Jazz, ano ba pwede nating asahan today?
Good morning, Angela, Chetka, and Pauline. At ngayon, nandito tayo sa Camp Crame for the third day since noong nakaraan, just a recap, nung last time, nung Monday, ay dinala nga dito si Bonoan after he needed immediate medical attention. At nauna siyang sumuko nga kay Senator Jinggoy Estrada following their plunder charges. At kahapon, nasaksihan natin na tinransfer siya from the Philippine National Police General Hospital papunta sa Sandigan Bayan pasado 1:00 ng hapon. At following yan noong naunang statement ni Philippine General Hospital chief na stable na yung kanyang condition, and upon their first encounter with him nga is 170/100 daw yung kanyang BP, at dahil daw yan sa stress dulot ng kanyang naging pagsuko noong Monday, at dahil na rin yan meron daw siyang history ng hypertension and diabetes. So they're looking into it, yung kanyang medical conditions, pero upon yung assessment noong una, naging okay yung kanyang health, tapos sinila siya sa Sandigan Bayan. Pero ang akala natin, no, so since nabigyan siya ng medical clearance, his health is okay. But around exactly 4 p.m., binalik siya dito sa Philippine National Police General Hospital, and na-postpone niya yung kanyang arraignment due to the motion ng kanyang camp na due to his medical concerns, ibalik muna siya dito sa General Hospital, at while waiting dun sa kanilang motion for house arrest. And yun din yung inaabangan natin ngayong araw, no? If the prosecution responds doon sa kanilang motion for hospital arrest, kung itatransfer ba siya ulit to another hospital o kung ibabalik man siya sa Sandigan Bayan. At aabangan natin yan kung ano man yung magiging movement dito sa Campo Crame.
All right, thank you very much for that report. That was mobile journalist Jazz Paredes.
The Department of Science and Technology is pushing for a more sustainable way to retire old Philippine flags, aiming to replace solemn burning with potential recycling and upcycling methods. Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho reports.
Under the current flag and heraldic code of the Philippines, old and damaged flags must be disposed of through solemn burning. But with advances in textile technology, the DOST believes there may be a more sustainable alternative that still preserves the dignity and respect accorded to the national flag. The DOST, through the Philippine Textile Research Institute, or PTRI, recently led a retirement ceremony for old Philippine flags while renewing its call to amend the law and allow recycling and upcycling as alternative methods of retirement. According to PTRI Director Julius Leaño, the proposal grew out of the agency's broader efforts to promote sustainability and circularity in the textile industry.
Polyester and then nylon now are very, very toxic pag masunog. What if we could still valorize them other than just retiring them na parang wala na silang silbi basically.
While older flags were commonly made from natural fibers such as cotton and silk, many modern flags are now made of polyester and nylon, materials that can release harmful emissions when burned. To address this, PTRI is proposing a physical fiber recovery process. The method involves converting it back into fibers that can be processed into new yarns and textile products. Once converted into fibers, the material can be used for embroidery, weaving, industrial textiles, and other applications, giving retired flags a new purpose while ensuring they remain unrecognizable. The proposal could also significantly reduce environmental impact.
Did you know that about like a 3-inch by 5-inch na Philippine flag could actually emit, if you burn it, could actually emit about 0.72 kilograms of carbon dioxide.
PTRI says it has already collected more than 3,300 retired flags through its nationwide campaign and continues to accept old flags from government offices and the public. The agency is now working with the National Historical Commission of the Philippines to finalize the proposed amendments to the flag and heraldic code.
The Philippine flag deserves all the respect until it finally retires. And when it finally retires, we are very certain that through science, technology, and innovation, we can still derive and propose a different approach and a different way of further using it for another purpose.
Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho, we are One News.
Now, don't go away. We still have more matters to discuss after this quick break. Keep it here on One News.
Good morning. I'm Angela Lagunzad Castro. You are watching Morning Matters here on One News.
And I'm Pauline Verzosa. Thanks for staying with us. As we know, the Senate remains at a standstill after failing to hold session for a second straight day due to a lack of quorum. Majority senators again skipped the plenary, calling it a form of protest against what Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano described as a puppet Senate. But the minority bloc is now calling on Cayetano to resign, saying his leadership has failed to resolve the deadlock. Cayetano meanwhile claims the minority does not want the flood control probe reopened, an accusation the standoff has now brought to the center of the Senate row.
Joining us now is former Senator Richard Gordon, who served as a chairman of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. Good morning and thank you for joining us, Senator. Nice
Glad
to see
to be
you.
here. Congratulations on your third show.
Yes. Thank you for gracing
Third day,
us.
right?
That's right. Also, how serious is the Senate deadlock with the sessions failing due to lack of quorum? I was wondering if
It's amazingly shameful. You know, it doesn't suit our country. Look at what happened. The Vietnamese president was going to honor them, and he canceled. Why? Because there was a lot of scandal, a lot of brouhaha, and he didn't want to be part of it. So how would you feel if you're an investor in this country or a tourist, and you can see the bedlam that's happening in the Senate? They're not going to go. So really, it seems that it's the ship is stalled, and it's not moving like in a painting.
Well, you've been a senator. You've walked the upper chamber, the halls of the upper chamber for a long time, right, Senator? But have you seen anything like this in your years?
Well, there have been occasions when there would be arguments, and that's what the Senate is about. You debate, but you don't settle it by walking out or especially the Senate President leading it. The walkout is reasonable, principally because they were trying to push something that was unreasonable. That was not part of the rules, you know. They just, you have to look at the motive behind what's happening. From the very beginning, when they made the coup to control the Senate, they got somebody who was a fugitive and suddenly appears. And then you see him running like a scared cat, going up, stumbling, and then going to the Senate, you know, destroying the sacredness of the Senate, shouting, raising his finger. You know, what does it show? It shows that there was no control. And then there's a warrant of arrest. That's a lawful act of a government. They have the warrant from an international court that was convened because sometimes countries cannot try their own people because they're afraid the courts are not going to work or they're being threatened. And yet it's a legitimate international warrant. And then what do? They put him under protective custody. The only people they put in protective custody are people who are going to be threatened by murderers because they are going to reveal something that is going to expose crime or something like that. But this was, you're putting a fellow senator who has not been there for 6 months, who's been collecting his pay, and suddenly Cayetano says, this is not cool. We're just trying to make sure that we enliven the Senate and make sure that it works. And then the same guy says, no, actually, I was invited. I was told by Senate President Cayetano to go there, even lent me his car, right? And then the next thing you know, they make a fake gunfight at the OK Corral. They were shooting, you know, this guy who is a classmate of Senator De La Rosa, Batch 86, is now the new Sergeant at Arms, and he comes around showing up. I've never seen, I told you this in the Senate, I've never seen the security of the Senate carrying weapons. This guy was carrying an automatic weapon, and there were so many people, there were so many media, and if there was going to be a gunfight, a lot of people were going to be hurt. As it was, suddenly you hear gunfire, and yung pala, it's a stage show. And then you see Senate President Cayetano reprising his previous, coup in the lower house when he was being told to leave because his term was finished because of a pact that he made.
I remember that.
15 months na ayaw niya umalis.
There was an agreement.
Same coach. You have to have the numbers, and yet there was an agreement that he would leave. And then later on he had egg all over his face because, the spectacle of President Duterte intervening previously and making them compromise is wrong. I mean, I wouldn't recommend that of any Senate. And yet, he now goes in and say, if I did something wrong, I'm sorry. I miscalculated this and stuff like that.
I was wondering, Senator, a lot of people or more of the critics are saying that the day Senator Alan Peter Cayetano assumed as the Senate President in the Senate is the day that the Senate died.
That's what I said the other day. I said the moment he arrived, it was one chapter after the other of riot, catastrophe, and calamity. I mean, he brought all this disorder, all this disrespect. He forgot who he was. The senators forgot who they were, that they represent the people, that they should comport themselves with dignity, with frankness and integrity. And they forgot all about that. And all they want was an agenda where they would get the majority in spite of letting a fugitive back in and letting him escape.
Right.
All right? And then now they're saying, well, all we did was that. But Cayetano was put under the bus by Senator De La Rosa. He said, I only went there because I was asked to vote.
So do you think he should resign?
I was the first one to say that. About 4 or 5 days ago, I said that. I don't like asking people to resign because they won't. Kalpa eh. Pagka makapal lang ang apog, mahirap ng pag-resign niyan. And that's sad because he ought to know better. He's a lawyer. He came from the best schools. And yet, what is he doing? He's ruining himself. He's committing harikiri of the integrity of the Senate. And that's sad.
But Senator, let's talk about what's happening now inside the Senate. So over the past 2 days,
You mean what's not happening?
what's not happening exactly? That's a better way of phrasing it. The majority bloc hasn't attended.
Right.
None of them have shown up in plenary. Earlier you said the walkout was still reasonable, but what about a boycott?
What about the
Boycott. Do you agree that what they're doing, what the majority bloc is doing, is already
It's the
boycotting?
majority is boycotting.
Yeah. By not
The
attending.
minority walked out because they were ramming. It was called the tyranny of the majority. Now, they're the majority, right? So, if they did that and they want to go do tit for tat, and they're going to violate the law, which says before you can adjourn for several days, you should inform the House, because the House is part of that. Congressmen have their pet bills. You have an agenda in the Senate that is announced before. And all of that is set aside. Why? Because of peak? Because nainis sila? Naisahan sila? That's part and parcel of legislative tactics, no? Because you don't want something to pass that's really illegal or that's not really right. In the first place, why are we debating something that has already been decided, that the Senate will not allow somebody to vote by electronic means because it's in the law? There has to be, sabi nung isa, horse manure? Force majeure. Force majeure. They know that they're not supposed to do that, but they insist. So they walk out and sued. And what does the Senate President himself do? He is supposed to be the bastion of unity. That's why he's up there. That's why we say, Mr. President, Your Honor, because he's supposed to impose order. He can bang the gavel and say, let's have 1 minute of recess so we can talk about this. Didn't do anything like that. Instead, he just walks out, doesn't give the minority courtesy, doesn't give the people a damn, and they're expecting something, and all of a sudden they're not showing up. And then he does it the second day. Obviously, he's going to bring it all the way to today, which is silly dia. And, that's allowed. They don't have to convene to close the Senate right now because it's in the calendar. But what a sham. You don't have a Senate. The Senate, which was the senior house, the Senate is composed of senators who campaign throughout the entire country so they would learn more. These are the mature people in the Senate. And what are they doing? They're behaving like a bunch of rascals.
Right. So what happens now? It seems that they are on a deadlock or impasse. And can they go to Supreme Court and, let Supreme Court intervene?
Yes, the House can go to the Supreme Court, no? But it's probably too late because tapos na eh. Today, tapos na yan. But you know, you can charge them with abandonment or dereliction of duty. And then you are fulfilling what they want to fulfill. What is that? They want to confuse the public. They want to redirect the public's attention away from the impeachment, away from their coup d'etat, away from this, the fact that there are some senators, one of whom has been arrested. Sorry about that. But if you don't want to do the time, don't do the crime. And there are about 4 others who are going to be like that. So what they want to do, and you can see right through them. They're laying the predicate so that if these guys are arrested, they can still vote. But you know, when you're deprived, nakalagay doon pagka hinuli ka, di ba? Nakita niyo isang senator, naka-t-shirt na dilaw, PDL, Persons Deprived of Liberty. That means they cannot do anything because they're deprived of liberty. And so, that tilts the balance for the minority. But that's not the point. It tilts the balance between stupidity and justice.
One can debate you and say, hindi pa naman sila convicted.
Oh, no. No bail eh. They know that when they do plunder, no bail. When you have no bail, hindi ka makakalabas. You're deprived of liberty. You cannot go in. But even so, be that as it may, they cannot vote electronically. All right? My analogy is, supposing they say they fix a number, 16, to impeach. Supposing all the senators were going out to Boracay and they're on a plane and it crashes and 5 of them die. Huwag naman mangyari. O, ilan lang ngayon ang 16 pa ba? Hindi na. That's a moving target depending on whether the senator is alive
So what makes
or
it
the
20%?
senator is able to attend sessions, whether he's in the country or he's debilitated or he's prevented by law.
So
That's
it
why
changes.
hindi yun ang hinahabol nila eh.
Oo.
If you really look at the law, it doesn't say any number. It says 2/3
Yeah.
of all the senators.
So
That
let's say,
means
for example, may natirang 20 na lang na senator.
Correct.
So 2/3 of 20.
Yeah. Yun ang mangyayari.
So it's not based on the Constitution, Senator, na
Yes.
2/3 of the Senate. So that number is still flexible depending on how many
2/3 is not
members.
flexible.
No, the Senate or
The number
composition.
of the Senate is...
The numbers of the Senate can change
Okay.
depending on the circumstances.
Yes.
Even if they're in jail.
Yes. For example, Bato is not going to show up. Di ba?
Yeah.
Or now, are you going to ask now the court, can I vote? He has to ask permission. And already there's suasion. They're saying the government is handling these people now. No. When you're under the custody of the superintendent of prisons, you have to be nice to him to be able to get privileges, right? So how can he vote? How can you know that that's his vote? And besides, if they're not in the session hall, if they want to do it by Zoom or whatever, you cannot see whether they're sincere. You know, I'm a lawyer. When I go to trial, I look at the witness to see whether he's lying or not, and I can tell most of the time. And that's where you start going. But you know, to me, the whole point is the senators are there to represent the people, to show the best of political leadership and senatorial work. They're not there to fight. They're not there. You know, when you become a member of the Senate, you must have the integrity, the dignity, and the capability to do the job. When it comes to the impeachment, you must prove that you are non-partisan. But all the acts of Senator Cayetano from the very beginning show that he wasn't going to be partisan. And his record shows that he's done it before in the lower house. Now he's doing
done it again.
Remember in the lower house?
Sinara yung
may
pinto,
violence daw
nilak
eh.
yung gate.
Sabi niya, may violence na dito sa house. Hindi niyo pwedeng ganyan. Sinabi pa niya, you cannot burn the house while I'm still here. What I'm telling him, you're burning the house right now so that a few rats can escape. Di ba?
Yeah.
But today, Senator, is the last session day before the Senate goes into adjournment, sine die. What happens now if the majority bloc continues to skip plenary session? They don't show up today. Can some of the senators who will remain in the Senate compel them to attend? I think there is a Senate
The
rule
Senate
that provides for
President
that.
can compel the attendance. That's what he should have done. If he really felt that there was a wrong in the walkout, he could have told the Secretary General, I want you to compel those people who are still here to attend. He can do that. All right? And of course, ang gagawin ng House, ng mga taong tinawag, there's another way of doing things, filibuster. So long as I have the floor, I will speak and speak and speak. So long as I don't relinquish the podium, he can speak. So, ganun ang mangyayari.
But what if the Senate President is also not attending?
Sorry?
What if the Senate President is also
It's
not
called
attending
abandonment.
session?
Yeah, abandon.
Who can compel the Senate President?
Well,
to
that's
attend?
when, if there is a justiciable issue, that's when the Supreme Court
Go to the
comes in,
Supreme
and you can go to the Supreme Court and says, there's abandonment, you can,
Deliberation.
the law abhors a vacuum, there's a vacuum, and in this particular case, you may need to intervene. And that's a judgment now by the Supreme Court.
Right. But Senator, you headed Senate Blue Ribbon Committee before.
Yes,
And,
for 12 years.
For 12 years.
I didn't ask for it.
Yes, formally, the infamous formally.
Tapos sinahabol ko pa yun.
Yes, until now. But that's a different topic. But right now, kasi I want to know your assessment of Senator Ping Lacson's handle of Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, because yan po yung sinasabi ni Senator Alan Peter Cayetano na hindi sila impartial, there were evidence na hindi nila, there were people na hindi nila in-invite.
But they don't specify. And in the Senate, the chairman is king. Like the Senate president is king. When he presides, you can question him right there. Marcoleta did that. And what did Marcoleta do? He brought in a spurious witness. Remember? Gutesa?
Gutesa.
All right? Who had an affidavit that was not properly notarized. And the notary public said, I did not notarize that. And then they never showed up anymore. So Ping knows what he's doing. After all, he's a previous policeman in an earlier life, like Bato. But, you know, why would they say that they're not continuing? There's a report. They did not even sign that.
They didn't sign it.
If they signed that, they could say, I
With
will vote no
reservation.
later because the report is not complete. We have not called the following people. Or I will interpolate. Or reservation to interpolate. They didn't do that. That's the same thing that they did in the family. They didn't do anything. They just said, we'll vote no.
But isn't this also conflict of interest?
Sorry?
Is it also conflict of interest kung si Senator Marcoleta yung mag-head ng Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, because he's also facing issues, allegations, cases?
Precisely. Conflict of interest because he took money and then he has the gall. I saw him on TV the other day. He was saying, binigyan ako ng pera eh. Sabi nila, wag raw sabihin. Oh, meron bang batas na magsasabi sa akin na hindi na tayo na bawal yung ginawa ko? Bawal yan eh. Because you're a public official. At sinabi pa niya, sabi niya, tanggapin mo na yan pero may utang ka. May utang na loob ka pag kailangan ka namin. Ganun eh. So it means that's the law. The law's vision is to prevent a public official from taking money even if there's no strings attached at the moment, because in the future, he is now in the hook or in the hands of a criminal.
But do you have any fears, Senator, of how the Blue Ribbon Committee investigates the flood control scandal now that the majority bloc will be heading this committee? And because we've seen in the past, Senator Ping Lacson was actually very careful in which types of evidence were admissible, right? He didn't allow the video statement of Zaldico to be presented in the investigation because wala raw pong, he didn't take an oath. Oo. So, do you have any fears on what the direction of this investigation could take under the leadership of the new majority?
Well, sa akin, I didn't see Senator Lacson falling short. When you say partial report, out of respect, he's going to continue. But first, we must file cases already. And cases have in fact been filed. Senator Estrada, the Secretary of Public Works, and his other confreres are now facing the Sandigan Bayan. They're without bail because that's may nangyari na eh. At meron pa mga susunod. Yun ang kinakatakutan nitong mga majority because there are people who are involved in the flood control. Di ba? You have direct witnesses. And Undersecretary became a state witness so that he would point out that the following senators got money. No? And ang gusto nila, habulin kagad si Romualdez. Hey, you have to build the case. You know, I never put a witness there who will not be able to prove the case. There was a guy there who says, oh, I know Duterte is a part of the gang, Michael Ya, etc., etc. And I said, you have to come in and show up. I will put you there, but you have to show up. When he showed up, he didn't want to talk. Oh, how can I push him? You cannot push a witness to talk when he doesn't want to talk. Kasi sinasabi nila, Lacson did not call the others. Well, that is their privilege at the time. Say, I would like... In fact, Marcoleta did that in a very, very bad manner. He just brought in a witness. The fact that he got away with it shows that Lacson was liberal. Sa akin, di pwede yan. Dapat ihanda mo yung testigo para pagdating doon, makakapaghanda rin yung buong committee. Wala eh. Tapos sasabihin na unfair? No. They are the ones who are being unfair. Now, he has the gall to take over that when he's facing charges. His wife is part of this kaya, and he says, there's nothing wrong with that. He's an independent contractor. Excuse me. Caesar's wife has got to be beyond reproach. He didn't read Shakespeare.
What if they continue, Senator, their push to make the Discayas a state witness? Because remember when they were investigating, when Senator Marcoleta was still the head of the Blue Ribbon Committee, he presented the Discayas, and then eventually he also pushed for them to become state witnesses.
I'm a lawyer. I can see lawyering for this guy because his wife was benefiting from it. And he wants them to be the state witness. You have to be the least guilty. You have to be not the most guilty. But they're the most guilty. They had cars, and ang racket yan, hindi lang yung kukontrata sila, hindi nila, nangungumisyon pa sila. May lisensya kami, gamitin yung lisensya, and then we get commissions. That's illegal. You cannot do that. That's why there's public bidding. So, anong gusto nila? Papayagan natin yan? Hindi ko maintindihan yung kanilang logic. Ako, I was very strict when I was in the Blue Ribbon Committee. And if anybody had heartburn, I would let them speak.
Right. But
dito,
don't you
hindi naman sila nagsasalita eh.
But don't you think the government or the ombudsman is really targeting only the critics of the government?
The ombudsman?
The ombudsman.
The ombudsman is not part of the administration now. He's independent. So he can do what he is supposed to do. Yung last ombudsman was practically a company union, member of the company union. So he didn't want to go after these people in family.
But Senator Jinggoy Estrada, for one, claims that majority senators are being targeted by the ombudsman. Cases are being filed left and right against Senator himself, Senator Estrada. Other cases could be forthcoming for Senator Joel Villanueva, Cheese Escudero.
Yeah, but because there was evidence forthcoming. Now, if there was evidence forthcoming, the chairman would be hard put not to recognize it. Di ba? Makikita mo naman, nanonood tayong lahat eh. Bakit di mo tawagin niya? Meron palang ebidensya yan. Meron pala siyang statement. Pinagbigyan niya. Sabi, ito si Gutesa. Meron siyang statement. Marin. Talagang experience witness eh. Halatang kino-coach. Ang nakakatawa pa, mas alam pa ni Marcoleta yung affidavit kasi doon kay Gutesa. He would stand up. Nagmamadali ka, basahin mo muna itong isang part na ito. Not Moro. I don't want to say something bad about my Muslim brothers, but they were really doing a scam. Nahuli.
Right.
Yeah.
We have so much question, but unfortunately, we don't have much time. One last, very quick. With all of these things are happening, do you plan on running again?
I'm not thinking about it. I sleep well at night. I mean, I have an office across the street. I help people every day, and I'm enjoying it. I have no agenda. I have not paid, and I'm happy.
All right. Well, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning, for making time out of your busy schedule to come out all the way here on our third day here.
You're the first exception. I don't want to go anymore because the traffic is so bad.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
Running late ako kanina.
But we're very, very
grateful. I had a 6 o'clock interview kanina. I had to wake up early and sabi ko, sige, pupunta na tayo dito.
Yay.
Next week ulit, Senator.
By the way, you invited me ha. Kasi yung mga trolls nila, sinasabi, nagpipresenta raw ako para makapagsalita ako.
We invited Senator.
Yes.
Under oath. I have never asked anybody, interview me please.
All right. But thank you very much. That was former Senator Richard Gordon. And coming right up, the anticipation for the NBA Finals is reaching a fever pitch as the Knicks and the Spurs prepare to lock horns for the NBA Championship. To break down the key matchups, NBA writer Tim Reynolds from the Associated Press joins us next. Stay tuned to Morning Matters. We'll be back after this quick break.
Good morning, I'm Cheska Litancalao. You are still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The San Antonio Spurs and the New York Knicks are set to clash for the NBA championship, marking their first finals meeting since 1999. The Spurs booked their return to the finals after eliminating the Oklahoma City Thunder in a hard-fought 7-game Western Conference Finals series. The Knicks, meanwhile, secured their spot by sweeping the Cleveland Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals. In their last finals meeting in 1999, the Spurs defeated the Knicks 4-1 to capture the championship, a result New York will be eager to avenge this time around. What can we expect from the NBA Finals matchup between the San Antonio Spurs and the New York Knicks? To break it all down, let's bring in Tim Reynolds, national NBA writer for the Associated Press. Good morning. Thank you for joining us, Tim. You are joining us from San Antonio.
I am. Good morning, good evening. Congratulations on the new show. It's good to see you.
Thank you, Tim. All right, so let's get right to it. Let's first talk about the history between the franchises. They last met in the finals in 1999. I think we were all still playing Snake on our Nokia phones. And there is a parallel to this that you just wrote about. Tim Duncan, number one pick for them back then, and Victor Wembanyama.
There's, back in 1999, there was a big guy in San Antonio who was just coming into his own, and the Spurs surprised some people that year by being as good as they were. And 27 years later, the story's repeating itself, this time with a kid from France instead of a guy from the Virgin Islands. And what Wemby has done this year, unanimous Defensive Player of the Year, third in the MVP balloting. Some people had him second. The argument could have been made that he would have been a strong second to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander if, had there just been more consistency at times. But, Victor had to watch Shai get that MVP trophy before game one of the West Finals in Oklahoma City. And it was so poetic to Vic that after game 7, he was the one leaving with an MVP trophy on that same court. The Western Conference Finals MVP trophy is not the same as the NBA MVP trophy, but to Victor, that meant a lot. You saw all the emotion he had when he won that trophy. Now it's the process, and he told me today that it's still going on, the process of coming down from that high of winning the West. They need to reload. They've got about 24 hours, 23 hours or so right now until tip-off of game 1 of the NBA Finals. Victor has met every moment, just like Tim Duncan in 1999. I have no reason to think he won't continue meeting the moments in this series.
And over on the Knicks side, it's also poetic because there was Rick Brunson in 1999 and now his son, Jalen.
And Jalen Brunson, people forget this part. For as great of a player as he is, and as great of a leader as he has been for this Knicks team, Jalen Brunson left over $100 million on the table in his most recent contract. And he did that to allow the New York Knicks the flexibility to do exactly this, to be an NBA Finals contender. He could have gotten a lot more money. He could have really limited what the Knicks were able to do as far as building a team. Jalen Brunson is the epitome of a leader in every sense of the word. He spoke today here in San Antonio about how much it means for his father, one, to still be on the coaching staff here. Rick Brunson's on Mike Brown's staff, so there's that element. Jalen has no recollection because he was so young of the 1999 finals, but he knows how special it is to be the son of a guy who has played in the NBA Finals. He's not the only one to do that in this series, but after the year Jalen Brunson's had to get New York, which has been so starved for a run like this for so long, to be the guy who got the Knicks back on this stage and to have his dad with him every step of the way, it means a lot to Jalen Brunson.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the culture on both sides. I mean, the New York Knicks, Madison Square Garden, Spike Lee, and then you have the San Antonio Spurs. with the legacy of Greg Popovich, I mean, they hired Becky Hammon. I mean, they have their own identity as well. Can you walk us through this?
Well, let's start with the Knicks. Since you started with the Knicks, let's start with the Knicks. Madison Square Garden is a really old place that has its quirks. Um, it is not the fanciest arena in the NBA. It is certainly not the newest arena. It does not have a lot of the bells and whistles that a lot of arenas have, and it is still awesome. It is still the greatest building in the league, bar none, because it is in New York City, because the Knicks put on an incredible game operation. They just the building sounds great. The fans are right on top of you. It's a wonderful place to see any game. I was at a game there in January and was blown away at how exciting it is. January is not June in the NBA. So what's coming to the Garden next week? I can't even imagine how electric it's going to be. And then on the flip side, you have the Spurs, who, like you said, they were Greg Popovich hired Becky Hammon. He gave Becky Hammon an opportunity. He broke that barrier in the NBA. Greg Popovich will be there. He'll be at these games, but as we all know, he's not the coach anymore. And yet it's still the Spurs way. You know, R.C. Buford, who was the general manager for so many of those great Spurs teams, is now the CEO of the organization. In his place is a new general manager, Brian Wright. RC is still around, still very active. Brian Wright does things his way. Mitch Johnson does things his way as coach, different, some very differently than Greg Popovich. But like you said, that word culture, there's a set of standards that championship organizations use. The Spurs might change some things here and there, but the taproot of what makes the Spurs is still very much there. We're going to show up. We're going to work harder than you. We're going to treat people well. We're going to do things the right way. We're going to value our fans. And we know we're the biggest thing in San Antonio. If you're in San Antonio, this is your team. There's no other U.S. major pro sport team here in San Antonio. The Spurs are their Yankees. They're their everything. And the Spurs take that to heart. And they've always put out a quality product, which leads to winning. And for them to get back in the finals, it's just a great story.
All right, and since we are in the Philippines, Tim, we have to talk about the Filipino Americans facing off in the finals, Dylan Harper and Jordan Clarkson.
Go crazy, Philippines. You're going to have an NBA champion. You're guaranteed to have an NBA champion. And Jordan Clark, the very cool thing to me, and as you know, Cheska, I've spent some time in the Philippines. I was there for the World Cup. You know, I'm based in Miami. I've known Eric Spoelstra a long time. I know how important the game of basketball is to the Philippines. And I know these finals would be a really big deal, whether Jordan Clarkson or Dylan Harper were in this series or not. But what I really like is that they know how important it is to the Philippines. They're incredibly proud to say that they have Philippines heritage going through their blood. They're proud of it. They speak of it openly. They don't hide from it. They want to be the one that says, I brought a championship to what I consider to be one of my countries. Both are proud guys. We know Jordan Clarkson has played for the Philippines national team. It's a great story either way. And I think anything that tells the story of how much basketball means to the Philippines, and these guys will tell that story. I think it's a great thing. I think no matter what happens, it's a boost for the Philippines. On a personal note, I just love that because of how much the Philippines means to me.
I mean, you were here for the FIBA World Cup in a few years ago, so you know, you've experienced our love for basketball. All right, but let's get into the face-off between these two teams. This previous season, both teams won their home games against each other. I mean, if you're counting the NBA Cup, I mean, it doesn't count in the league records or statistics, but it counts as experience.
It does count as experience. And it's, it was a game, it was a game in December in Las Vegas. The Knicks won the game. It was an interesting day for the Spurs After that game, Victor Wembanyama, much in the same way that he did after Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals in OKC, Victor Wembanyama was incredibly emotional. Not that they lost the NBA Cup final. Victor Wembanyama lost his grandmother that day and played with a very heavy heart, but wanted to be out on the floor for his teammates. He was given the option. He's like, hey, this is an exhibition. This game doesn't count in the standings. You don't have to play, Vic. Vic wanted to be in that game for his guys and played pretty well, all things considered. And take nothing away from the Knicks. The Knicks played incredibly well in that tournament. They played incredibly well for most of the season. We all know the role that they're on right now with this 11-game postseason winning streak, the most dominant 11-game stretch in NBA history, which is crazy to think that it's happening right now in the playoffs against good teams. You're in the playoffs, you're playing good teams. There's a lot that you can go back to, especially the two home games. One of them was a blowout. The Spurs weren't great. The game in San Antonio was a pretty good game. Don't forget, Jalen Brunson, by the way, also had 61 points against the Spurs team a couple of years ago. He took 40-something shots to get there, but he's had big games of late against San Antonio. I do think the Cup trophy getting away from the Spurs, we all act like it doesn't mean something. Yeah, I don't think they want to see the Knicks hoist another trophy at their expense. And the one thing we've learned about the Spurs over the last few weeks, anything that they can turn into motivation, they do. They're very good at it. So I think that Cup loss will be, strangely, a little bit of a motivating factor for them.
All right, Tim, very quickly before we let you go, fearless forecast for Game 1.
Fearless forecast for Game 1. I think it'll be a slow start. I think both teams will feel each other out a little bit. The Knicks haven't played in more than a week. It's going to be exciting. Everyone's nerves are going to be bundled up. Remember, only one of the starters in this game has ever been in an NBA Finals game. Only Mikal Bridges has ever started an NBA Finals game before. I think, regardless of what happens in Game 1, I think the Spurs will win the series. I think it'll be a very long series. It's going to go 6 or 7. The winner tomorrow night will have an edge, but I do think this is going to be a lot like that OKC series for San Antonio. It could go back and forth because both of these teams are really, really good.
Thank you for your time, Tim Reynolds, national NBA writer for the Associated Press. Don't go away. Morning Matters will be back after a short break.
Welcome back mga kapatid. This is still Morning Matters.
And so many things discussed today.
Yes.
So many people we talked to today.
Yeah. Let's start with Tim. What did he say? What was his insights before
I asked him for his fearless forecast for Game 1. He gave me his fearless forecast for the rest of the series.
Okay,
so
and
Diego might be very happy.
I'm sure because it's for Wembanyama, the Spurs.
Yes. So let's see.
But we'll
Game
see what's
1
going
is
to
tomorrow
happen.
at 8:30 a.m.
He said it might be a
tomorrow.
long series.
It might be a long series. Might run 6 to 7 games.
But so that's a.
Do we believe Corgi?
Corgi?
Do we believe him?
Corgi.
But the last time he predicted it went, diba?
Well, you never know.
It went true.
As long as
It
the
became
fans are treated to an exciting
It's going to be a
series.
good series.
Yeah.
All right, that is it for today's news. Before we go, again, thank you so much, ladies. This was a great show. Ang dami nangyari.
So very
Diba?
packed
Pati
show
yung
this
orange,
Wednesday.
diba? Si Charmaine.
Charmaine, Vanessa, and sino yung isa?
Si
Melanie.
Melanie.
All right, that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
We hope we have given you just the right start to your morning. I am Cheska Liton-Calao.
Let's make the day matter. I'm Pauline Verzosa.
Kapatid, we are one news.
All sides,
all the time.